What's up everybody, I've been playing all the mods 9 to the sky for about a week now, and there are at least 10 things that I thought would be incredibly helpful to share, things that I either forgot about from all the mods 9 or didn't realize were different in To the Sky. So I'm going to try my very best to share those with y'all in the most succinct way possible. Again, these suggestions are aimed mostly at beginners, people who are just starting, who haven't really played a To the Sky pack before. So if that's you, this is the perfect video for you. Alright, so when you log into all the mods 9 to the sky for the first time, you start up a world, you'll be spawned in on an island. And this island will have instructions for you to be able to select your own skyblock island. It's different from the spawn island. You actually pick an island, and they have several different versions. And so suggestion number 1, the tip I have for you guys, is to pick the island that actually already comes pre-configured with a house. And the reason for that is because not only do you get a pretty house to start in, it also comes with some crops, it comes with some animals, you have 2 sources of water already, so as soon as you get buckets you can make an infinite source of water, and it also just comes with enough room for you to be able to learn how to play the pack at the beginning without being clustered up on a single block with a single tree. So there were several times at the very beginning of this where I had to spend so much time trying to figure out the next steps of the process to take that it would have been incredibly annoying to have to focus so intently on trying to get some food going and trying to make the very basic materials and resources that you need at the very beginning. So if this is your first playthrough, I would recommend starting on the island with a house. Now, suggestion number 2 is something that is in most of the All the Mods packs. However, I kind of forgot about it in some regards in this one, and that is to make sure you use Ultimine for everything. And I mean like actually everything. There's a couple examples of this for things that I forgot that are probably pretty important. So obviously make sure when you're chopping down trees, you use the Ultimine keybind, which is usually the tilde button, to chop the trees down. It'll chop the entire tree down in one click. The second part of this is that you're going to need a lot of string in order to make these sieves and in order to put the meshes inside of them. Whenever you're doing the silkworm part of this, don't forget that if you're harvesting the leaves with your crook, you can ulti-mine the leaves too and mine all of those at once, so that way it takes way less time to chop down all the leaves on the tree. In addition to that, one of the core components of this game is breaking 1x compressed cobblestone. And don't forget that if you set a whole bunch of it down, this might actually kill me, that you can ulti-mine all of it at once, even with a compressed hammer. So that way you get all of the gravel from that all at once instead of having to mine each block individually. Tip number 3 is danks, and that's a weird word, but if you've never used them before, basically all they are is a very large way to store a very small number of items. So in order to craft these, you have to have 8 coal and then 1 barrel. So throw that in there, you'll get a dank. And what I mean by that is you can set up the dank to filter pickup. And what this will do is when you are collecting the pebbles, we'll grab a couple of these real quick. You can go inside of the dank and tell it to automatically pick up all of those pebbles for you. So you can grab a whole bunch of these pebbles, and as long as you have one of each type inside of the dank, it will automatically pick all of them up into there. And it won't be restricted by the stack size that you would normally have just in your normal inventory. So it's a very convenient way to store a large amount of a small number of different items. So you'll notice they all go straight into here. They stack up past 64. Incredibly convenient, would highly recommend it. All right, tip number 4 is something that I actually found kind of annoying on this island. If you go around, you'll notice there's a lot of these flowers here. And those flowers are fine. However, when you crouch right click to pick up all the stones, you'll notice you grow things. So tip number 4 is don't forget when you're trying to grow crops that you can actually crouch, and it basically acts as bone meal. Makes it where you basically have infinite food no matter what you do, as long as you have like 1 seed and you can put some wheat on the ground. Tip number 5 is for lava creation. You can put a torch underneath a crucible and that will work. It will allow you to put cobblestone in the crucible, and it will eventually create lava for you. However, it is substantially faster if you use a campfire, and these campfires already come built in with this house if you choose the house island itself. So it makes it very convenient. It's a very easy way to get started on some lava generation. We're already at tip number 6. Tip number 6 is early on to prioritize making at least a base level cobblestone generator And the reason for that is because it makes it so much easier where you don't have to go out and collect all the pebbles anymore. All you have to do is put some sort of a drawer or some sort of storage on top of it, and it will automatically fill it up very quickly with cobblestone. In this world, I've already upgraded it all the way to the diamond level just because I had the materials to do so. It's completely unnecessary though. Even the first cobblestone generator makes cobblestone at a rate way faster than you could possibly use it. Now, along the way, while you're trying to collect enough iron to build buckets and different things like that, you're going to get quite a bit of this copper ore. And you may think, oh, that's absolutely pointless. You know, that's just used for electricity rods and things like that. However, it's incredibly useful for making hammers. And hammers is the next tip. I highly recommend, if you're going to be placing down this ore and mining it already, you might as well double your effort for it. And so what we're going to do is use our copper that we have to make a bunch of copper hammers and then double the ore into the dust. And if that was confusing, I'm just going to show you how to do it. All right, so like we talked about, don't forget to ultimine the ore that you place down. So we're going to need 18 of this copper ore in order to craft the copper hammer that we're going to need for this. So let's go ahead and get that smelted up. All right, we've got all the copper we need. So we're going to turn these into 2 copper blocks. We're going to throw them in there with 3 sticks. And voila, we have ourselves a copper hammer. So what we can do with this is we can place the copper hammer inside of the crafting table along with some raw ore of any type, and it will double into dust, and then we can smelt that and we'll still get the same ingot. So the hammer basically allows you to double the effort for free. So you can start with just copper and eventually upgrade to an iron depending on how much materials you have available to you. But I highly recommend doing this because it'll make your life a lot easier. All right, the next tip worth mentioning is the wand. So if I place 2 sticks in here and an iron on top, then I will get an iron wand, and that allows me to place down a maximum of 27 blocks. What we can do then, come to our storage, we'll grab some cobblestone, turn that into compressed cobblestone, and then this wand will allow us to keep placing that compressed cobblestone next to the others. This allows us to get a whole lot of cobblestone down very quickly, and then we can ultimine it like we talked about earlier, also very quickly. You'll notice a lot of these tips are kind of stacking on each other. As you have the materials, the more of these things you add together, the quicker the generation of the items that you need will go. All right, the next tip is a tip for myself. You can see I have a lot of Certus quartz in my inventory. You can also see that my inventory is quite full, even with the dank, and even with a whole bunch of chests around. My inventory is filling up incredibly quickly. So the next tip is to prioritize some sort of actual computerized storage system, whether that's refined storage, whether that's some sort of sophisticated storage, backpacks, whatever. Find some way to store a very large number of materials quickly and hopefully with a pretty cheap energy cost. My solution for this is going to be the AE2ME system. That's what I'm going to set up. I'm going to power it using some windmills, which is the next tip I have for you. Tip number 10 is to use windmills because they're very cheap to make and they provide basically free, unmaintained power. Like, you don't have to provide anything to them. You don't have to upkeep them. It's just power for you. So my next step in this world is going to be creating that AE2ME storage system and then powering that using windmills. And then finally, last but not least, the next step is going to be sort of branching off from this island a little bit and actually setting up a mystical agriculture farm. And the reason for that is because mystical agriculture is going to be the way I get a lot of stuff in this world, and I keep automating and growing stuff so I don't have to keep, breaking down a whole bunch of compressed cobble into gravel and then sieving it and getting iron that way. And it's a whole convoluted process where I could just grow it, have some sort of auto crafting set up to where I don't have to go through the whole sieving process in order to get those materials. So, all right, those are the tips I have for you. I hope they help in some way. This should really help you get kickstarted on your first 3 to 4 days inside of this world. And if you follow the tips, they will help you get a lot further a lot quicker. Plus, just in general, the first part of this mod pack is kind of grindy and a little bit boring, and there's not a whole ton of exciting things to do. And I'll admit a lot of skyblock servers and mod packs are like that, but in particular, this one definitely is. So if you can speed up that process a little bit, I think it makes it a lot more fun. If you disagreed with any of these suggestions, or you think there's a better tool or option or method for something I'm talking about here, please feel free to leave those comments down in the description. There's a lot of people that read those comments to sort of help themselves get an idea of what they want to do. So it's incredibly helpful if you leave those, and I will see you guys in the next one.